Well, good morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. My name is Willie Lawson, and this is the Morning Report. The Morning Report is a production of fightbackmedia.com, fightbackmedia.com, fightbackmedia.com. I trust that you are well today. It was a rainy evening, I guess, last evening, but it's been a fairly cool day, and it is a cool evening. It is sub 60 here after being in the 80s in the past few days. So it is our last blast of spring before we get into our winter months, our summer months here in West Central Florida. And so it was nice out, and the wind was blowing a little bit. Not bad at all. Not bad at all. Again, I trust that you are fine. We had a good day. Nothing exciting, really. Got to cut the yard cleaned. Nothing really exciting happened. But we are here to help you with some things. If you have not noticed, we're uploading these broadcasts to YouTube as well. Trying to open up another door. I don't know how long it's going to last until, the YouTube overlords start hearing some of the content and start putting a big, kibosh on our distribution, which is why it's really seriously important. If you're listening to this broadcast and you're listening to it, however you get it, Spotify, Spotify or whatever, it's really important to us that you go to the YouTube channel and subscribe and click the notification bell. It's really important because the more you do that, the more difficult it is for YouTube to shut us down that way. And then you can share these with your friends and neighbors, people who may not have Spotify or may not be an iTunes listener or whatever, but they do know how to manipulate YouTube. And here we are. All right. Let's take a little break, and let's get on with the program right after these messages. If you are a true blue conservative, small businesses are near and dear to your heart. They are the lifeblood of our life and economy. I believe this, and that's why my florist is not a website or phone number. My florist is Blooming Days Flower Shop, Tampa's premier flower shop. At 11618 North Florida Avenue here in Tampa, Florida, and at 6835 State Road 54 in Newport Richey. Call Christine at 813-933-1942 and at 727-232-6900. She can also be reached on the web at www.bloomingdays.com. We are in tumultuous times here on the internet. Many platforms are finally taking this opportunity to rid themselves of conservative voices. A lot of you are learning how this internet game is played and are wondering if there is a place for you online. Well, yes, there is. freedomforum.website is providing a place for everyone to be, including conservatives. freedomforum.website is dedicated to the First Amendment and free speech for everyone. Join us there and speak your mind. One of the things that I get asked most is where can I get information that is not tainted with liberal bias, especially here in the Tampa Bay area. Well, now I have the answer. tbctampa.com, a website by and for Tampa area conservatives. Tampa's leading conservative voices speak freely at tbctampa.com, and you can too. So join the fun and enjoy the freedom at tbctampa.com.
conservative who seeks truth over the conventional statist wisdom, coming to you from the southern headquarters of fightbackmedia.com, your host, Willie Lawson.
Well, thank you, Paul. Appreciate that. Thank you, Paul. We appreciate that. Oh my goodness, the stories. It just never really stops. There are some days that are more target rich than others, but it never stops. That's the most amazing part about the times that we live in. It just never stops. There's always something going on. Alrighty, let's get started. You might not have heard, but I'm sure you have because our audience is a well-informed audience. That's why we do so well. That's why you like us. Senator Elizabeth Warren, failed candidate for president for the Democrat nomination, is saying now that the filibuster is, quote, racist. Now, here's the play from the left. Racist is bad, so if I can attach anything to racist, then it's a good thing. It's a good thing for me. It's a good thing. If I can attach anything to racist, then I can maybe get rid of it. Because, after all, it's racist. Even if I sort of trump up some bullcrap reasoning, some faulty fact line, then it's racist. So during an interview with Axios earlier this week, Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren decried the legislative filibuster as racist. Here's what she says. The filibuster has deep roots in racism and should not be permitted to serve that function or to create a veto for the minority in a democracy. It's majority rules. Now, this is exactly why it is so important that a lot of us keep saying, and we need to keep saying, every time one of these morons says that we are a democracy, that we are not. Unfortunately, they say it so often, their teachers say it so often, that people actually believe it. We are not a democracy. We're not. We are a constitutional republic. Rule of law, we are a constitutional republic. This is how we function. We do not function as majority rules. We do not function as this mob rules mentality. We don't. That's why it's so important. It seems like a lot of people, like we're just lowering up, that's a really hard word for me, up, and that we're parsing words, but we're not. Words matter. Definitions matter. We are not a democracy. At the federal level, for sure. So this whole pretense of Warren that in a democracy it's majority rules, that's very true. Except we're not a democracy. Today, Warren posted a 4-minute video on her Twitter account writing the filibuster. Here's what it is, and here's why it stinks. It stinks right now because it's not on her side. That's why it stinks. Here's what she says. It's time that we get rid of the filibuster. For a vote on a bill to take place, a few things have to happen. 1, the bill is brought to the floor. 2, senators debate the bill. 3, senators debate. 4, senators vote on the bill. Majority wins. That's the way the founders intended it to go. Ain't it interesting that whenever they don't get their way, now they're going back to what the founders wanted. Well, if we're going to go back to what the founders wanted, you would not have been elected senator. Your state legislature would pick the senators. And they would represent the states. They would not represent, quote, the people. They would simply represent the interest of the states. If we're going to go back to this whole what the founders intended mentality, that's, if we're going to do that, well, that's fine. Super. Fantastic. Let's go ahead and do that, Senator Warren. The way the founders intended to go, at least, here's the hitch. In 1806, Aaron Burr, yes, the one who killed Alexander Hamilton in a duel. Now, here's the stupid part, other than the pretense of the whole thing. She showed a picture of the dude in Hamilton who played Aaron Burr in the thing Hamilton. Yes, this guy here, who shot Aaron Burr, who killed Hamilton in a duel, said that the Senate had too many rules and should get rid of some. One rule that got tossed in the trash can, the rule that said any senator propose a vote that would cut off debate. That means this step, Warren said, highlighting the senator's debate section, could go on, in theory, forever. Okay, she continues. For years, business generally went on as usual, but then Senator John Calhoun realized that he could exploit this rule. This rule changed to seize more power for the slave-holding states by filibustering. Now, the filibuster can go on for a long time. Now, if indeed you can, and there have been long filibusters. Now, the only way that a filibuster works is that if the other side gives up. That's the only way it works. You see, I don't think that we were talking about civics yesterday. I think a lot of people understand that. The only way that a filibuster works is that if the other side gives up. If the other side doesn't give up, sits to the filibuster, does whatever they have to do, brings in snacks, water, peas in buckets, whatever you have to do. If the other side doesn't give up, then the filibuster doesn't work. It eventually, every single filibuster has failed, or the first one would still be going on. In 1917, Progressive President Wilson, tired of the Senate that was obstructing more than voting, pressured the Senate to pass a rule to make sure that the debate wouldn't hold up voting forever and ever. This is Progressive President Woodrow Wilson trying to circumvent the legislative branch of the government to do whatever the hell that he wanted to do. Warren continued in an increasingly patronizing tone. The Senate responded with a rule called Rule 22, also called a cloture vote. It looked like the other rule Aaron Burr had thrown in the trash, except for one enormous difference. To end debate, Rule 22 required a supermajority, or 2/3 of the Senate. Now a small minority in the Senate could force a small minority, 40%. All these cloture votes are 60-40. Otherwise, you have the tyranny of the majority. That's a democracy. That's why that doesn't work. You got to get more than that. You have to get some people on the other side of the issue on your side. That's how it should work. It's incredible. It's incredible that these people continue to try to benefit on the basic ignorance of the American people. Now, again, we were talking about civics yesterday, and I see posts on Facebook all the time. We should get civics back in school, blah, blah, blah. The danger of this is who teaches these classes? Who teaches these classes? So I mean, a civics class dipped in the sewer of critical race theory doesn't do you any good just because you're taking civics. Yes, there should be a class in high school called American Constitution. What it is, how it works, but who teaches it, and from what viewpoint do they teach it? I don't think that we can depend on a leftist school system to teach these really important subjects. I don't think that that's the way to go. I think that we have, you and I, if you're watching this or listening to this, you and I have all the tools available to us to inform our friends, inform our family, inform our children, inform our grandchildren on how things are supposed to work. We can back them up with facts. We can back them up with the documents. We all still, at this point, have access to the documents. We don't need Fox News. We don't need Newsmax. We don't need any of that stuff. There are a number of us out here already that are happy to pitch in and help. chrisannhall.com. If you've got a group of 30 or 40 people that want to know something about the Constitution, her and her family will come and teach a class. chrisannhall.com. You got to call now. I mean, you got to get in there now, because the best part about it is that she is super, super busy, because people are wanting to learn what the deal is, what the truth is, what it is, and how it works. So what Senator Warren is talking about is nonsensical. Yes, a senator can call for a cloture vote, and it's got to be a supermajority. And why? Because it's the debate that is more important than the vote. The debate is more important than the vote. She says a small minority. Well, the idea is now that the other side of the argument can force a bill to go through 2 votes. The debate is the most important thing. And if they can't close debate, which means simply that people want to hear more, that the Senate wants more debate. They want to hear more back and forth. That's a good thing. It's the best thing. So it takes a supermajority, 60% or 60 votes, to vote for cloture. That means the end of the debate. That means most everybody has heard all they need to hear before their vote. That's all that means. And that's all it means. And then a supermajority to actually pass the bill. And if there is a supermajority to end in debate, there may be a good opportunity for them to have a supermajority to pass the bill. It should always be a supermajority. It should never be this idea of this nuclear thing that now made these things simple majorities err or push to the side of this democracy, mob rule kind of governance, where you have the tyranny of the majority. This is not what the founders intended at all. Not at all. Not even a little bit. If Senator Warren, you want to talk about if you want to talk about what the founders intended. It's funny. The left is whenever they get into a tight, they want to go back and they want to use the very same things that we use here on the right. We use things like the founders. We use things like Christian values, and they want to tell us what these things are. Foolishness. So given Warren's disdain for the notion of filibustering, it seems strange that she has both celebrated others for such behavior and even filibustered herself when politically advantageous. In June of last year, this wasn't a long time ago. This wasn't, she did this in the 60s. This was last year. This is less than a year ago. Warren used the rule while the Democrat Party were in the minority in the U.S. Senate. Not only that, she used the supposedly racist rule against black Senator Tim Scott. Last June, Democratic lawmakers in the Senate voted to block police reform legislation put forward by Republican Senator Tim Scott in the aftermath of George Floyd's death. The legislation failed to surpass the 60-vote threshold assigned by the filibuster. Only 3 Democrats in the chambers voted to advance the bill. Warren, of course, was not one of them. Earlier this week, Scott Jennings mocked Warren for her description of the Senate filibuster as racist, saying that Warren's filibustered Tim Scott's police reform bill last year. Was it racist then? Warren used the filibuster to block the Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act. The Senate Republicans pushed the Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act, meant to mandate care be provided for babies that survive an abortion attempt. Senate Democrats used the filibuster, with 41 Democrat senators voting to block the bill by filibustering the legislation and preventing it from advancing to a floor vote. The only Democrat lawmaker to vote alongside Republicans were Senators Bob Casey of Pennsylvania and Doug Jones of Alabama, and of course Joe Manchin from West Virginia. In other words, Warren supported the filibuster, this amazingly racist, awful, terrible filibuster. Warren used filibuster to block billions in COVID and COVID-19 relief. In September. Senate Democrats filibustered a major COVID-19 relief bill, which included aid for businesses for struggling under lockdown mandates. The bill was defeated 52-47, not meeting the 60 votes needed to break the Democrat filibuster. A mechanism required 3/5 of the chamber to agree to end the debate and allow a final vote. One Republican Senator, Rand Paul, voted with Democrats in opposing the bill. Warren endorsed Wendy Davis, District 21, celebrating her famous filibuster. And it's funny, none of these things are 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Some of them are barely 15 months ago. They're not even 15 months ago. In May of 2020, Elizabeth Warren endorsed Wendy Davis for Texas' 21st Congressional District. Posting on Twitter, Warren wrote, "From her famous filibuster on the Texas floor for women's reproductive freedoms to working the expansion of funding for public education, Wendy Davis has been fighting for working family for years, and I know that she'll do the same in Congress. I am proud to endorse her." Well, Wendy Davis used a filibuster while she was a representative in Texas. Warren was okay with the filibuster then, right? It is ridiculous is what it is. It is outrageous. It is ridiculous. So it is really time. What this does is give us an opportunity to, yes, point out the hypocrisy, because it is super important that we point out the hypocrisy. The hypocrisy has got to be pointed out, no doubt. But it also gives us a great opportunity in pointing out the hypocrisy to show the failure of thought, the failure of what they're talking about, and present what's real. And present, if we're going to talk about filibuster, fine. Here's what the filibuster is. And here's how it works. And here's why it exists. If we're going to do that, you want to go there, fine. Let's go ahead and go there. Let's go there and talk fact and truth and not feelings and not politics. Let's just talk about what the real deal is. Fine. Let's have that conversation, Senator Warren. If you're talking about the founders didn't want you to be, again, the founders didn't want you to be elected. The founders didn't even want you to be elected. They wanted the states to choose the senators, that the people could choose their representatives, but the senators should have been picked by the states, by the state legislatures. Yes. So if we're going to go back and we're going to start talking about the founders, well, if we're going to go back to the founders, that's what the founders intended. And the founders would have never, ever thought that some of you would be in Congress for 40 years, 20 years. A term, maybe two, and then take you back home. If we're going to talk about what the founders would have intended, what the founders thought of. These people are reprehensible. And Elizabeth Warren is among the most reprehensible. All right, we'll take a little break. We'll be back with more of the Morning Report right after these messages. One of the things that I get asked most is where can I get information that is not tainted with liberal bias, especially here in the Tampa Bay area. Well, now I have the answer. tbctampa.com, a website by and for Tampa area conservatives. Tampa's leading conservative voices speak freely at tbctampa.com, and you can too. So join the fun and enjoy the freedom at tbctampa.com. We are in tumultuous times here on the internet. Many platforms are finally taking this opportunity to rid themselves of conservative voices. A lot of you are learning how this internet game is played and are wondering if there is a place for you online. Well, yes, there is. freedomforum.website is providing a place for everyone to be, including conservatives. freedomforum.website is dedicated to the First Amendment and free speech for everyone. Join us there and speak your mind. If you are a true blue conservative, small businesses are near and dear to your heart. They are the lifeblood of our life and economy. I believe this, and that's why my florist is not a website or phone number. My florist is Blooming Days Flower Shop, Tampa's premier flower shop. At 11618 North Florida Avenue here in Tampa, Florida, and at 6835 State Road 54 in Newport Richey. Call Christine at 813-933-1942 and at 727-232-6900. She can also be reached on the web at www.bloomingdays.com.
A conservative who seeks truth over the conventional statist wisdom, coming to you from the southern headquarters of fightbackmedia.com, your host, Willie Lawson.
All right. Again, thank you again for spending some time with us. I wanted to repeat this, and I mentioned this in the last program. Our friend, who has been a great partner for the past year or so, Tim Bryce, lost his mother a couple of days ago, and for complication from COPD, I believe that he posted. And you know, he knows he's been blessed to have his mom as long as he's had her, but it doesn't really help the pain. It doesn't. So again, Tim, if you're listening, everybody here at the Fight Back Media family, sends their condolences to you and your family on the loss of your mother. We pray for comfort for you and your family at this time. And we're looking forward to talking to you soon. We're looking forward to doing whatever we need to do, man. All you have to do is let me know. Whatever you need us to do, that's what we'll do. All right. Again, our condolences to you and your family. God bless you and all of everybody that's connected to you. All righty. Let's get to the next thing. The dominoes are falling. That's the headline used on the Daily Wire. Minnesota Governor Walz has rescinded all the occupancy requirements on churches following the lawsuit. Now, we've said this. We've said this for a long time. What's really important, what's super important, is that we fight back, and the only thing these people get. The only thing these people get, really, is being sued. It's the only thing they get. They get being sued. That's it. That's it. They know, because what they know is that all of these requirements and all of this stuff is illegal. They know that. All these extended executive orders about churches meeting or not meeting, or what percentage of people who are in the church can be, what they know is that it's all illegal, that it's all unconstitutional. They know that. And they know that it doesn't take a team of crack attorneys that cost $1 billion to win these cases in court. And this is what's starting to happen. The Thomas More Society has voted to recall Governor Tim Walz, but he rescinded an occupancy requirement on the state houses of worship earlier this week, following the lawsuit. Walz's executive order 2111 was approved on March 15, 2021, lifted the last remaining restrictions on church attendance in Minnesota, which has capped occupancy at 50%. The restrictions remaining for bars and restaurants at this point remain in effect. Now, what's going to happen is that those are going to fall too. They just are. The dominoes are falling in favor of abolishing the state's limitations on church attendance. Thomas More Society's special counsel Eric Cardell said in a statement to the Daily Wire, Minnesota has abolished its church attendance limitations. Next, our plan is to similarly abolish all other states' remaining limitations on church attendance, which have been occurring nationwide. The Thomas More Society filed lawsuit against Walz and the Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison last August, arguing on behalf of three churches that the state's mandates regards attendance limit violated their religious liberties. The churches involved include Cornerstone Church of Alexandria in Alexandria, Minnesota, LifeSpring Church in Crosby, Minnesota, and Calvary Chapel in St. Paul. The Thomas More Society is a nonprofit national public interest law firm based in Chicago, has filed similar lawsuits across the country, perhaps most notably on behalf of Grace Community Church and their senior pastor, John MacArthur in Los Angeles. We've talked about that on the show before. The lawsuit cited Hebrews 10:24 and 25, which says, "And let us consider how to stir one another to love and good works, not neglecting to meet together as is the habit of some, but encouraging one another all the more as you see the day drawing near." It is noted that such injunctions exist in other faiths as well. Do not neglect the gathering together of ourselves. The religious liberty turning point for the opening Minnesota churches was the United States Supreme Court decision in the Roman Catholic Diocese of Brooklyn versus Cuomo, when on November 25th, 2021, where the High Court, under the Free Exercise Clause, required a preliminary injunction against New York's maximum attendance requirements as applied to indoor religious gatherings, Cardell said. Once the U.S. Supreme Court decided the Brooklyn case, there was no longer any wiggle room for Minnesota or any other state to cap religious attendance, pandemic or not. Similar court victories are occurring all over the country, most recently in Nevada and California. Finally, one of the things we'll remember about Minnesota's governor's response to fear of COVID is the unconstitutional discriminatory treatment of churches and synagogues, Cardell continued. State-imposed limits on church attendance are never constitutionally okay. Governor Walz's requirements on churches even included criminal penalties for noncompliance with his dictates. What? Were Minnesota courts going to put all the pastors in jail for church attendance during a pandemic? From the very beginning, this governor and others of and other states should have recognized that houses of worship fit in within the definition of, quote, essential. You can't get much more essential than church, faith, and someone's relationship with God. Ladies and gentlemen, go to church. If for some reason you have not been attending church, if for some reason the church that you attend has been closed, or you have felt, or the pastor has felt like it should be closed or whatever, that's nonsense. It's nonsense. And maybe, and I'm not telling you what to do. Now, you know that I don't tell you what to do. Nobody here tells you what to do. But you might want to consider changing churches. I said it. I don't like to say it. But you might consider that. If you've got a church leadership that that will not follow the word of God in the assembling of them of ourselves, then maybe there's some other things that you should question. Maybe. Now do what? Now I'm not telling you to leave your. I am not telling you to leave your church. Please don't say I was watching this YouTube video and this guy says leave your church. I'm not saying that. But from time to time, it is important that we run everything we do, including the church we attend and the schools we send our kids to and our jobs, through the thing, and see where we are. And in church, we should be good. If you're at the church that you're supposed to be, stay there. Don't you move. If you're at the church you're supposed to be in, don't you move. Get involved. Serve. Because that's why you're there. You're not just there for a great message and it's fun and it's got a great coffee shop. That's not why you're there. It's just not why you're there. All right? All right. This sort of brought me back to Gerald Ford a little bit. For those of you who are old enough to remember Gerald Ford, and Gerald Ford had a few times where he lost his footing. One of them came rumbling down the steps from Air Force One. This is the first time I think I've seen somebody fall up the stairs in Air Force One. Maybe it's not, but it's the only time that I remember. Joe Biden, the other day, let's see here, when was this? This was today, I guess. Julio Rosa, townhall.com. President Joe Biden's trip to Georgia got off to a rough start on Friday after he fell down multiple times while climbing up the stairs to board Air Force One at the at Joint Base Andrews. Biden gets halfway up the stairs before falling down 3 times, catching himself on the handrail before finally finding his legs and continuing up the stairs. And there are videos from numerous angles. Now, I'm going to tell you, there's storms. I mean, there were storms in the area, and the wind has been pretty high. And that could cause, somebody who's, it is probably not an understatement to say that our president is no spring chicken. No spring chicken. Because, heck, I'm no spring chicken. And balance sometimes is an issue. I mean, you just got to say it, that sometimes balance is an issue, correct? But this guy, President Biden, 3 times, and what bothered me about the entire thing is nobody from the military, from the people who were in the bottom of the steps, to nobody who was standing at the front door of Air Force One, came to assist the man. One of the spokespeople from the White House, Karen Jean-Pierre, seemed to blame the wind, and there was pretty high wind. She told reporters aboard Air Force One, "It's pretty windy outside. It's very windy. I almost fell coming up the steps myself." He's doing 100%. Oh yeah, because that's gotta be the thing, right? Now you remember how CNN, MSNBC, all of the leftist media came after Trump when he was at West Point, taking his time coming down this ramp, this fairly steep, slippery ramp. Remember that? Look at him, he seems senile, and he can't even function, can't even walk down a flight of stairs. They weren't stairs even. It was a ramp. And he had somebody right next to him. He had somebody from West Point right next to him to make sure that he didn't slip and fall and hurt himself. Again, President Trump, no spring chicken. This is not some 30-year-old that takes a tumble head first, does a somersault, and goes, "I'm good." These are senior citizens where falling, I don't care how good a shape you're in, falling is bad. So I'm worried. I'm worried about the president falling, and falling a couple of times, 3 times. I'm also worried about how nobody came to his aid. What's that all about? All right, we got to get out of here, make room for somebody else. All right, till we see you again, go out there and learn something, love somebody, and for goodness sakes, y'all take care of yourself. My name is Will Lawson. This is The Morning Report. The Morning Report is a production of fightbackmedia.com, fightbackmedia.com, fightbackmedia.com. We will go out there and learn something, love somebody, and for goodness sakes, take care of yourself. We will see you when we see you.
We appreciate the time you took today to listen to the broadcast. Please check the links below on how to further interact with the fightbackmedia.com network. Please remember to like and share this broadcast with your like-minded friends and family. Also, we'd appreciate your subscription to the broadcast, and make sure to hit the notification bell so you're notified when we upload new content.